You look Des Kelly Interiors.
Showers will mostly die out tonight with lowest temperatures of 8 to 9 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball.
Thanks to Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a dedicated call centre.
This is News Talk.
A very good evening to you and welcome along to Off the Ball on this Thursday night. It's Adrian Barry with you this evening. The rest of the team have been seconded all the way down to Galway, down to the West Coast. It's time to preview the All-Ireland football semi-finals and figure out what's going to happen this weekend. So we've done just that. We've a team of Galway legends down there waiting to bring you all the goodness. We've some Dublin representation in the shape of Charlie Redmond, Monaghan representation in the shape of Antti McEnany, Tyrone representation in the shape of Royce McMenamin, Michael Mee and Ray Silk, and Pat Comer, who was the sub-goalkeeper on that 98 team, Kieran Cunningham.
He was, yeah. Made the year till Sunday.
That's kind of the rationale for it. Maybe the greatest GA documentary of all time.
Yeah, I'll go along with that.
Access.
Yeah, because I interviewed Pat for a piece with it about it last year.
Yeah.
And he just has great stories about it, because it's unique because he was obviously sub-goalkeeper and a filmmaker, so you never get that kind of access again because he was actually one of the players.
Yeah, incredible.
So he was in there and, stuff about the homecoming and people they met there and what it meant to people. It's really interesting. He's an interesting guy anyway. His career is very interesting in filmmaking.
Yeah, it lives on YouTube. A year till Sunday, is that what?
Yeah, a year till Sunday, yeah.
Well worth watching.
It'll never happen again. No manager would ever allow that to happen.
Yeah. So that's all coming your way. It's going to be coming your way from about 7:30 on News Talk, so stay tuned for all of that good stuff. And John Giles as well. It's the brink of the Premier League. The season itself kicks off tomorrow. It's deadline day, of course. Not been a huge amount of action today. Niall Colbert's with us as well. Niall, how's it going?
Very well, thank you.
Making your debut tonight. You're very welcome into the studio.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to bring us up to speed with all of that goodness a little bit later on. John is going to be coming your way from about 9:30 or thereabouts. So that's kind of the menu for the evening. There's going to be a Thomas Barr final upcoming in just over 10 minutes' time, and somebody outside's going to flip off Grange Hill or whatever we're watching on
Emmerdale, I think.
3 and put back on the athletics for us in any minute now. We're going to be able to bring you live details of what's going on.
Can you record Emmerdale?
Emmerdale Farm was the last time I watched it, so that was what I'll tell you. It's an incredible... I remember the last time you and I sat in this room and you were... I mean, I think rightly felt insulted by my introduction as of the B team, but it was just a stark realisation.
I've been dropped since to the Z team. So.
When we'd come on air, that I had certainly just at that moment had the stark realisation that was that day, whenever it was, there was actually nothing happening in sport. And that was why I was sitting in the chair. But today couldn't really be any more opposite. It's an unbelievable day. There's the PGA Championship has begun on some bizarre internet land channel that not on mainstream TV, which I feel sort of takes away from the event slightly. Deadline day is here and it's going to come and go. It's shut in the last couple of hours, bizarrely, when other windows haven't. We've the European Championships that themselves are a little bit bizarre in that they're a new thing.
Yeah.
And they're taking place in 2 different cities. Cork Rosenborg tonight in European football. We're on the brink of the Ireland semis, getting there with the hurling. It's a bloody good time to be a sports fan.
Yeah, I actually I was thinking about this the other day. I was thinking, God, can sport just slow down a bit? There was so much going on because even the GA alone, the calendar has become so hectic and it's so packed that you don't have time to catch your breath. That you go from last weekend for the last round of the Super 8 plus a hurling semi-final replay, 2 football semi-finals replays, or 2 football semi-finals this weekend and the hurling final next week. And then if you're in the media, like both hurling counties had their press nights this week. And then, you factor in all this stuff like obviously the start of the Premier League is huge and the transfer window ending earlier. And, you have 2 Irish athletes running for sprint medals tonight, which hasn't happened for an Irish male athlete in 74, 76 years.
All right.
So there's it's just hard to get your head around all this going on. And if you cover different sports, you're kind of stretched and you go, what do you got? Where is the story here?
I found myself the other night focusing on... We've just been discussing outside the European Championships they're been broadcast in RT. So this was like you had the Athletics Championships or you had the European Gymnastics Championships or European Swimming Championships. They all had their own little space in the calendar and they just got on with their own business in their own cities. But they've just amalgamated them all together. So you have the athletics in Berlin, obviously, and that's something we're keeping an eye on shortly with Thomas Barr. Cycling, diving and swimming in the main over in Scotland. It's, I mean, they got a bit of a jump on FIFA, it struck me, with their UEFA, with their multi-city tournaments. Yeah, and it's interesting how it'll go down. Like, I'm not sure. Like, I'd like to see the viewing figures after it, but there seems to definitely been a buy-in from the broadcasters. RT and BBC have gone very heavy on it. Like, they've given their they seem to be shown as many hours of coverage as they would with the Olympic Games, and like it is interesting because these are sports that are dying for media coverage, and they've been given at a very busy time. They've been given quite a hefty chunk of it. It's a win-win. It's either that or reruns of Nationwide from 10 years ago. So it's like it works on both. But like for somebody like I work from home a fair bit, and I'm also off a day during the week. So for me, somebody like me, it's a blessing because you got to get your work done. I found I was oddly attracted into the synchronized diving the other night. Now, I'm sure there was probably a point in my life where I did watch some synchronized diving, but I watched about 10, 15 minutes of it. A couple of minutes in, I'm like, I've become an expert now in this sport. And, the synchronicity was not quite right now. Between those two, like, you're picking holes in it. But it's one of those sports, because I think it was one of the Olympics I went to, I think it was the Athens in 2004. Yeah. Because from watching the Olympics on TV, there's always been sports that you'd watch that never watch outside it, like weightlifting, say, or synchronized diving. So I went along to the synchronized diving to look at it, and it is hypnotic. Like, you do sit there, particularly if you don't have to work. Like, I wasn't writing about it or anything, so you just could sit. You're saying that the Star weren't saying, Kieran, we need to get you 1,000 words on the whistle, if there is a whistle, on synchronised diving, on the splash. On the splash, there we go. Yeah, but it's like the, I don't know if you got the ability, the technical ability or the gymnastic ability of it's just amazing. Yeah. And you just imagine the amount of hours that gone into honing that kind of talent. You ever jumped off a 7-foot springboard? No, I can't swim, so.
I used to play water polo, and
really?
But you would see the preparation that these athletes would put in down at the National Aquatic Centre, and it was just thrilling to watch. Right. Even them practice off a 1 metre springboard at that, like. And it's just a pure art form, you know, to be fair to them as well. Because I spent a day with Oliver Dingley, I don't know, I was saying before, in the Aquatic Centre, the diver, who he's actually ill, he can't compete in his main event in the 3 metre dive over there. But no, he's a fascinating guy, and I watched him train for a couple of hours, and it's tough. Yeah, tough going. You've spoken about in the last few weeks about battling with the demons as well. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Water polo, though. Yeah, let that just slip on by. A friend of mine used to do it. Very, very physical sport, very competitive. My goodness, I had no idea until I played. But if you look under the water at a water polo game, like, there's kicking, there's pulling, there's tight shorts as well. Right. There's an unwritten rule, I believe, I was told, and I went by it unless it was a prank. But you wear swimming trunks that are 2 sizes below what you actually wear. Right. So that is a tight squeeze in a like Speedo. The glass hammer on the construction site. Adrian does that anyway. Adrian doesn't even play water polo. I just go commando when I'm doing water polos. He's wearing the Speedos here. You can't see the desk there. Where are you from, Niall? I'm from Offaly, but I would have played for the Maynooth Devils at the time. Right. My devil on the back was pretty fat. I did think you were in the Midlands, and I wasn't sure there was a huge water. No, there's not a big presence in the Midlands. I mean, the closer to Dublin you get, obviously, the more likelihood of these things. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's busy all time. The PGA Championship, and I'll bring us up to speed on that a little bit. Tiger's sort of getting back in the mix, or thereabouts. Rory McIlroy, if he just been, I have to say, I've barely dipped in and out of the golf today with various bits and pieces going on. But anytime when Rory's name is mentioned, you jump up and you have a bit of a look. Yeah. If he could make a couple of 3-foot putts, he would be the greatest golfer of all time, hands down. Would I not be saying that for about 3 or 4 years now? Yeah. The amount of majors and general tournaments the guy would have won. Yeah, because I read a piece by Lawrence Donegan on the eve of the tournament. Yeah. He was very emphatic that he was going to win it. He just said if he designed a course that he wanted to win a major on, he designed this one. Wow. So, and like, Lawrence would know his stuff, so I was actually curious to see how he's going to get on now. He does all the stuff to put himself in perfect position. Yeah. 3-foot putts, like literally before we came out there, but 10 to 7 or thereabouts, 3-foot putt. Missed, you know. So anyway, look, we'll bring up to speed on all of that good stuff, and we'll let you know how Thomas Barr is going as well.
when that athletics gets underway in the next 3 or 4 minutes thereabouts. But Niall is going to kick us off. Is it with the athletics we begin, Niall?
I guess we're going to start with
you do whatever you want.
I tell you what, we'll start off with the golf if that's okay. Ricky Fowler has set the pace on the opening day of the USPGA Championship in St. Louis. The American is the clubhouse leader as he chases his maiden major win. He's 5 under par following an opening round of 65. Shane Lowry's best of the Irish, a birdie on the second last, means the Offaly man has closed the day just 4 shots off Fowler on 1 under par. Rory McIlroy, hoping to bounce or back up a second place finish at the Open, has not enjoyed the smoothest of rounds, but he's next best of the Irish. He's level par after day 1. Paul Dunn and Pádraig Harrington each 1 over, heading on to the 16th and 18th respectively. And Tiger Woods, as you mentioned earlier, he was 3 over after just 2 holes. He's recovered now. He's now level par, heading on to the last hole as well.
A couple of texts in. Thomas Barr said after his semi-final that he went out a little bit too relaxed, says Mary in Portlaoise. If that was him relaxed, I hope he's relaxed again this evening. He just seemed like that sort of a character, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. Because I was in Rio for his 3 races when he finished 4th, and to me it was actually the greatest. I think it was the greatest Irish achievement at those Olympics, because partly of where he came from, he only had about 6 weeks training, he'd been dogged by injury, and also because of the depth of talent in his event. Like, it's one of the most competitive events across track and field. It's really tough, and it seemed to get a couple more world-class performers coming streaming it every year. But one of the things I think, I remember I was talking to him before, and I mentioned a quote from Edwin Moses, who'd be the greatest hurdler of all time. To him, and he said something along the lines of, too much thinking can be dangerous.
Right.
You need to be a bit crazy to go with the hurdles. And Thomas was saying that resonates with him. You know, you can overthink it. Like, you really have to. Like, obviously, technique is very important, because you have to, you know, get your strides. The stride length, you know, hit the hurdles when you want to hit the hurdles, after the amount of strides you want to hit them, etc. But like, you watch him in warm-ups, he's like Usain Bolt. He's always smiling. Like, he gets a buzz out of it. He's just doing that, waving to somebody in the crowd.
He's absolutely the most relaxed athlete on the starting blocks. Yeah,
but no, he's really up against it here, because, you know, the world champion Karsten Warholm from Norway, an absolute class act. Yasmani Capello from Turkey, he's the guy who finished 3rd ahead of Thomas in Rio.
Right.
You know, so there, if you look at time-wise, he'll need to run a half a second. Then he's improve half a second on his semi-final, and half a second in a 400-metre race is a huge amount. Yeah. But the one thing, if you watch him, if he's in touch with 2 hurdles to go, he is serious gas. Like, in the last 100 metres, he's like an express train.
How long does a 400 metres race take?
47, 48 seconds.
Okay, well, I think we can talk our way
through. Best is 48.9.
Another text.
Have you ever commentated in a 400-metre hurdle race before?
No.
Have you got other names?
I think we're about to do it. Yeah, I have some names here. Joseph and Clonis has texted in. He says Tom Barr to win, Monaghan for Sam, and Tiger for a major. What a year that would be. It is the last major of the year, I think, if I'm right. So, I mean, as we've been discussing with Niall, there's a possibility that, who knows, with Tiger he can be. I mean, that's what his game has always been about anyway, that sort of up and down stuff.
Yeah. This is a factor as well. He's just waving to the crowd. He's been introduced there, but he's in lane 8, which is the outside lane, which the effectively. Well, there's an argument, is lane 1 or lane 8. I think people think lane 1 is worse even, but basically you're running blind. So you're not really sure where the others are. But he has run well from there before, and people have won major medals from there before. So it's not the end of the world. I think, you know, he's had the draw was made. He's had time to get his head around where he's running. I don't think it'll affect him too much. Some athletes it does seem to affect.
Well, if he's, in terms of being affected by stuff, like for all the reasons we've just been discussing about his relaxed nature, like if anybody, it's not going to affect you. Assume that, you know, he's the capacity to talk himself into the fact that lane 8 is absolutely fine, because that's what we're talking about here. It's like, you know, acknowledging that it's a shit lane and then sort of saying, well, it doesn't really, you know.
But like, you'd expect Warholm to win, and Capello would be favoured for silver, but literally any of the others can medal after that. I think it's very even. And if he performs like he can do, and he very much is a championship athlete. Yeah. And he really wants this medal. He doesn't have, like, he has medals from World University Games and underage, etc.
And he's
4th at the Olympics. But he wants a major medal.
We were all hoping somebody was going to get pinged for doping, weren't we? And he was going to get sort of.
Well, I can't. Maybe I shouldn't say that. There is a chap there that.
Easy does it, Kieran. Easy does it. We've no delay function here on social media.
Okay.
The Newsround, I should mention to you as well, is brought to you this evening with Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products. So they are just on the getting onto the starting blocks for this race at the Olympic Stadium in Berlin. They're getting ready for action here. The athletes sort of just having that final sort of a shakedown, and most of them having a little bit of a self-talk. A lot of nerves going on, you would say, apart from...
the thing about Warholm, like Warholm is an outstanding athlete. He's only a kid, but he's going for the 400 metre double. He as well as the hurdles, which is really unusual. Like he ran the 400 metre semi-final yesterday. Yeah.
So you consider on the face of it, they're actually very different disciplines.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because I mentioned Edwin Moses. Edwin Moses used to describe the hurdles as his enemies.
Right. Okay.
They do. You can imagine, when the lactic acid is kicking in with 150 metres to go, and you have to leap over these barriers, and I think the last thing you want to be doing. So.
Right, okay, well look at the starting gun's about to go, and we're about to get underway in the 400 metres finals at the European Championships in Berlin. Thomas Barr running from lane 8. They are under starters orders and they're underway. So Thomas Barr is in lane 8. As Kieran said, he doesn't have anything ahead of him to necessarily focus on. Strong run so far in lane 6 from Warholm. As Kieran pointed out, he's the man to watch. The world champion from Norway seems to be running a very strong race here. Has already overtaken the French athlete, I think, outside him in lane 7, and is closing in on Thomas Barr as well. But as they turn the corner, it does seem to be very much focused on these outside athletes. We've a good run here as well from lane 4, who, as Kieran mentioned a bit earlier on, was the bronze medalist from Rio, Yasmani Capello from Turkey. And it's between the Turkish and Norwegian athlete as we approach. But Thomas Barr is going to get third if he can continue to see off the athlete inside. Thomas Barr is really going third. Stick it with the head. He's going for the line. He's going for the line. Thomas Barr is taking third at the European Championships in Berlin. What a run. From lane 8 from Thomas Barr against all odds.
I told you, it's gas on the last 100. He's got incredible 100 metre speed at the end of a 400 metre race. It's if he can stay in touch at all, he's always got a chance. That's amazing for him. Because I know what he's gone through. Like, he went to the Worlds last year after what he'd done in the Olympics, and he thought he'd going to get the medal in London.
That's his first medal of significance.
But he was struck with gastroenteritis. Remember that, so he had to pull out. So this is massive for him, and it's massive for Irish athletics. Like, it's for Irish sprinting.
Season best 48:31.
Now this the European Championships is going since 1934. And Derval O'Rourke is the only Irish in any of the sprint events to have won a medal. Wow. So it's a huge deal. It's the first Irish man. Derval O'Rourke, the only Irish woman. So it's a big deal. Like, there's not many Irish sprint medals in any event in history.
It was the Turkish and Norwegian athletes in lanes 4 and 6 that really ran away with this. And as we sort of mentioned during the race, that was becoming clear that was the way it was going to pan out. Then it was a straight shootout, really, for bronze between Barr and the athlete just inside him, the French athlete. And the French athlete over the last 20-30 metres just really faded off, and Barr rocked it home.
No, I can now take the credit for this, though. I kept this quiet till now, but Athletics Ireland sent out a tweet earlier that they wanted a hashtag for both Thomas Barr and Leon Reid. And said just after 8 in the 200 metre final. And they said we wanted who could have ran the fact they're both running from lane 8. So I said Super 8s, and that's what they've gone.
There we go.
They've gone with Super 8s. Even Thomas Barr and all these guys are tweeting Super 8s.
That's exactly.
Do I get royalties?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way these things work. Right. That's an incredible result. Well done,
Peter
Thomas
Collins
Barr.
is wearing a green hat like Bill O'Hurley and to tell you 90. Remember Bill O'Hurley did that?
Any weirder? Yeah. But he had sort of hands, didn't he? Clappy hands. There we go. So yeah, an incredible run from Thomas Barr, and congratulations to him. We'll hopefully catch up with him at some point over the next 24 hours thereabouts. But that is absolutely outstanding stuff. And as we said, Leon Reid will go a little bit later on. But that's where we stand. Everybody's very excited, delighted about it. If you have any good wishes to get through to Thomas Barr, keep them coming in on 53106, or get in touch on the hashtag on Twitter or on the Facebook or YouTube channels, wherever it is you are watching us. Niall, I don't know how you're going to bring us back to ground after all of that good stuff. What have you got?
I have no idea.
Mourinho's misery. Not buying anyone.
We'll start with Everton. They've done some incredible business on this transfer deadline day. They'll probably dominate the headlines tomorrow morning as well. They made 3 big signings in the last few minutes of the transfer window today at about 10 to 5. They brought in the versatile Brazilian midfielder Bernard on a free transfer. Marco Silva convinced him to sign a 4-year deal with the Toffees. He brings plenty of experience. He's won 3 league titles with Shakhtar Donetsk. Everton have also brought in 2 players from Barcelona. Barcelona saying Colombian defender Yerry Mina will move to Goodison Park for around €30 million, while midfielder Andre Gomez will switch on a loan deal. He's played in the top flight in both Portugal and Spain. Probably looking to find his feet, though. he's kind of disappointed, I guess, since moving from Valencia about 2 years ago. And former Republic of Ireland international Gary Breen spoke earlier. He feels it shows Silva clearly has the backing of the board.
I think the biggest one is the business that Everton have done, and everyone knows about the money that's been spent by the new owners there. It didn't quite work out under Ronald Koeman, then Big Sam, but Silva's gone in there as the manager. They've backed him heavily now. They've had some 3 standout signings. Yerry Mina, who was linked to Manchester United, has gone there. Bernard has gone there, but the latest one, the most surprising one, is Andre Gomez from Barcelona has gone there. So they'll be strong this season, bearing in mind that they got Richarlison in from Watford. So they look like they're really going for it this season.
The biggest move, I guess, in terms of Irish players is Harry Arter's expected move to Cardiff City from Bournemouth. The midfielder had struggled for game time at Bournemouth and appealed for a move to get more first-team football. Cardiff confirmed the signing of Arter in the last hour or so. Leicester signed 2 defenders, while Jamie Vardy signed a new 4-year deal to stay at the King Power Stadium. Earlier today, of course, Chelsea signed Croatian midfielder Mateo Kovacic. That's on a loan deal from Real Madrid, with Thibaut Courtois moving the other way, of course. Meanwhile, West Ham have taken Carlos Sanchez from Fiorentina and Lucas Perez from Arsenal. And of course, Tottenham made no transfers today.
Bizarrely.
It means they're the first Premier League club in history to make no signings in a summer transfer window since it was first brought in.
Isn't it bizarre? It's really odd, because I remember there was one of the most quoted lines of Bill Shankly was, "You've always built from a position of strength." And Tottenham have kicked on so much. Like even Champions League last year, they did beat Real Madrid. I know they didn't progress as far as they would have liked. And you would have thought, right, if they get into another 2 or 3 players and kick on from there, and they have a decent squad, but you look at what Liverpool have done, and City are going to be stronger, and even United. I know there's a lot of moaning about United from United fans, but they still have a very strong squad, and they've brought Fred in, who's a decent player. Arsenal have bought very sensibly. They've actually bought the kind of players they needed. So you wonder what is Tottenham doing.
It's totally bizarre.
And you have to wonder, does it go back to Daniel Levy? You know, a few years ago, people saying, you know, it's selling club and it's all about making money. And you go, now they're in a good position.
If I'm Pochettino, I'd get out of Dodge. Like, his reputation is now becoming bigger than Tottenham, and there's no way he can... Like, they're not going to challenge for the title this season with the squad. Like, they've a brilliant squad, but they needed to do exactly what Liverpool did and add a couple of little key players in key positions and sort of strengthen them a little bit. Like, I don't think anybody's catching City is the reality of it. There was 12,
I agree with that.
Points in it last season. But it's the race to be the best, and the best of the rest almost. And if I'm Pochettino, I'd just get the hell out of Dodge at this point. Yeah,
like, I think he is an outstanding coach, and coaches can improve players, and I think he can get more out of them. Like, I think this is something Mourinho forgets, like when he's bemoaning his squad. It's like, you're the coach, like, improves it.
That's right.
Some of these guys, excuse me. But the issue there is, he can only improve them to a certain extent. Like, if he gets another 2% out of them, you're doing well as a coach. And you need more options, you know.
Ross McMahuna on Twitter says, listen to you online in Newtoxeter. Go on, you good thing, Tom Barr. And Conor Byrne says, class commentary from the lads and Off the Ball. I mean,
well, it was Adrian.
Conor, how are you getting on? He says, I mean, the reason I'm reading this out was that he says, well done to Tom Barr and a great bronze medal at the European Championship. So
well done to the hashtag.
Hashtag Super 8.
Copyright me.
We'll probably get one quick story out of you, Niall, if you've got something else you want to bring us.
I guess we'll finish with Cork City's bid to qualify for the Europa League. It continues this evening. The Leesiders taking on Rosenborg. Kick-off with at a quarter to 8, pardon me. And of course, the Irish domination continues at the Dublin Horse Show as Shane Sweetenham landed the home team's 5th win today. The Cork rider made it 5 wins from 5 in the international classes, as Shane Sweetenham winning the Stable Lab Stakes on day 2 at the RDS.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Niall. Well done on your debut, by the way. I mean, this,
thanks, guys.
Can be
what a polo training.
Yeah, well, it was the speedos really that sort of told me that you'd have a future in this game. Thanks a million for that. Just a couple of bits of housekeeping. A brilliant competition. We're going to be announcing the winner of this one before the end of the show. We've John Giles on the way from about 9:30 or thereabouts. Next Wednesday, August the 15th, we want you to join Off the Ball and a host of GA greats as we build up to both the All-Ireland hurling and football finals. We're going to be live from the Guinness Open Gate Brewery. You can stay tuned to Off the Ball on air and online for your chance to win tickets to this exclusive event. So to be able the chance of winning tickets right now, just identify our mystery voice who said this when he was asked to describe Keith Andrews' wonderful air.
It's absolutely massive.
Give us one more lash of that.
It's absolutely massive.
So you can just text your name and your answer to 53106 for 30 cents. We're going to announce the winner, as I said, a bit later in the show, and it's all with thanks to Guinness and their Bound Together campaign. It celebrates the power of the GAA to unite and heroes the fans and their passionate commitment and connection to their local communities. As part of the campaign, we've tickets to give away to the All-Ireland Hurling and football finals. So it's a pretty cool prize, and you can join us obviously next week as well at the Open Gate Brewery. The competition is for over 18s only. Enjoy Guinness sensibly and visit drinkaware.ie. Kieran, thanks a million for coming in.
No problem.
A little bit more to talk about than we had the last time, so you know.
Yeah, we did okay.
It's good home, and enjoy your weekend of sport. I didn't even go around to talk in 2 words, who's coming through the semi-finals this weekend?
Galway, or not Galway, don't go. No, Dublin. I'd love Monaghan to get through. Just, I think for a county of its size, it'd be amazing. But I actually can't call that one at the moment. Like Tyrone, more experience, but I think Monaghan. For those Monaghan players, I think they'll never get this shot again, and that can either make them grow or put incredible pressure on them. And I have a feeling they might stand up to it. Yeah, Tyrone and Dublin, I think, is the probably the consensus, but I think Dublin Monaghan would be interesting. That is pretty much it from us here at OTB HQ for this evening, but we are crossing over to the West Coast after the ad break here. We're going to become live from Galway's iconic Roisin Dove, where Nathan Murphy is hosting alongside David Brady and an all-star panel of guests, including Galway legends Michael Meehan, Ray Silk and Pat Comer. Roisin McMenamin is in the house. Former Monaghan manager Banty McEnany is there as well, and Dublin's Charlie Redmond, as we reflect and preview the Reflecting Super 8s and look ahead to the All-Ireland semi-finals. Come on, Tommy Barr.
Off the Ball on News Talk.
Thanks to Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products.
News Talk Breakfast.
The telecoms watchdog is warning homeowners that they may have to choose between decent phone reception in their house or a warm house, that insulating a home can actually drastically reduce the strength of voice or data signal on smartphones.
Which would you prefer?
A
warm house?
Phone reception.
Before a warm house? I thought Irish women are always cold, no?
Sure. Obviously, not me, Shane, you know.